is the iconic oven-baked cheesy crick snack you've always loved. And this, it's Cricks too. Can you spot the difference? No? That's because there isn't one. Cricks still has the same irresistible crunchy goodness, wrapped in a stylish new packet. Same delicious flavour, brand new look. So snack lovers, get ready to spot Cricks in the snack aisle. Cricks, same iconic taste, new stylish pack. Now in sharing pack size.
And then there were two. One final round of championship action to undertake. One final opportunity to stand at the very top compared to everybody else. The day is very simple. A top 4 finish for Aaron De Battista will secure the title. Nothing short of a win is what is needed for Adrian Manduka, and if he does fall short, he will need the worst day imaginable for one Mr. Aaron De Battista. We head ourselves to the home of British motorsport, the home of British sim racing, some would say as well, as we move ourselves into Towcester in Northamptonshire, as Silverstone plays host to the final round of your MOZA Racing Malta GT Cup, powered by Intercomp. My name's Jake Sperry, James Otter along with me for the ride today. And James, the stakes are pretty much as set as ever, but one thing has been for certain: there has been no chance this season for Aaron De Battista, troubles or otherwise, to finish outside of the top 4 so far.
Yeah, it would be extremely uncharacteristic of the championship leader to be outside of the top 4, that's for certain. But this is Silverstone. It's a circuit of completely different character versus the other circuits, this one as well. There's plenty of opportunities to overtake here. Widened circuit as well may offer Adrian Manduka an opportunity to really put De Battista under pressure, and that one mistake could be the difference between winning the championship and losing it.
It certainly can, in a show today which is brought to you in collaboration with GamingMalta and also Hyundai, Intercomp, Sunshine Snacks, Level Academy, JACAP and GX Trust. This is how it all stacked up one round ago when we got to action at Snetterton just 7 days back. And Aaron De Battista had to hold because Adrian Manduka was charging and charging and charging, but just, James, ran out of time.
Yeah, kept that pressure up, didn't he, in the end as well. The Mustang has been a particularly fortuitous car throughout this season, really keeping that pressure on the front with the Audis. But I tell you what, though, Aaron De Battista really did hold his own in the end from a really good effort as well from Sean Cassar. 9 seconds back to be in that sort of no man's land to take the final step on the podium. And then in the midfield, it is complete switch around as well. Barshij getting a solid 6th place. Denzel Agius up into 5th as well. And James Smith, 7th place overall, sees him just hold on to 5th place, but by only the 1 point to Denzel. Should be an absolute blinder in the midfield as well.
It certainly should do. Let's take a look at those championship standings and how they rack up coming into tonight. Now, Sheldon Muscat does have a mathematical shot of winning this championship. He is only 28 points back, but with the way that the points haul works and the amount of drivers we have here today, he is mathematically out of contention to go and pick up that championship. So he is down on 78 points, and the best he can hope for tonight is second. Manduka, 15 points back. It's 14 points the difference between first and fourth. It's 16 points the difference between first and fifth. So keep that in mind, as well as the scrap on for fourth place in the championship, with Sean Cassar 7 points clear of James Smith. Denzel Agius a point back of that, and Bart Schuss there in 7th position, along with George Page in 8th, and Gabriel Quattramani making up the top 9 in the field. It's a brilliantly condensed championship finale out there, James, and one thing is going to be for certain as we get ourselves ready, that there is going to be anticipation in the air at a circuit which is possibly the most known of the 5 that we've run this season, the most expansive and the easiest to get away with a mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. Full circuit around here tonight as well. So there's not many opportunities to maybe perhaps recover from mistakes that occur in these GT cars, because, of course, plenty of the overgrowth and the gravel around this circuit of these 18 corners, and of course just under 6 kilometers in length, expecting a lap times just shy of 2 minutes around here. But these cars are going to be at their absolute limit, especially towards the front, because of course everything is to play for, especially between De Battista and Manduka. And again, don't ever forget that midfield as well. There should be some real turnout. I think tonight should be a good one.
Yeah, and so will there be a confidence boost for those drivers who know that they can attack on 3 very good overtaking spaces? The Wellington straight into Brooklands corner, the run out then of Luffield into Copse corner, and then that big launch out of Chapel and along the Hanger straight. That is what we have to come up with in just a few moments' time, because we're stepping aside for just one moment with the MOZA Racing Malta GT Cup, powered by Intercomp. When we come back, we will be into the thrills of qualifying, where we see who has the pace to set when it comes to racing action here from Silverstone. And so, as it comes to the qualifying effort that brings itself in play, 17 minutes on the clock as drivers start their first big flying laps out there. The push now is going to be needed, and for Aaron De Battista, he knows that he is just one race away from success. We focus with Adrian Manduka on that number 93 Ford Mustang that powers its way down the Hanger straight on a circuit with not very much elevation change to go and work with, through Stowe corner, and now looking to attack the final stages of the lap. A field of 16 here today, looking to try and prove what they've got. So when you put it down on paper, these first laps are important bankers, but you would feel that the front of the field is where you'd expect Manduka and De Battista to be. Benchmark to set, and the answer across the line is now let's go for a flyer.
Yeah, straight through then into turn number 1 through Abbey and then into Farm Curve. We're expecting that the car's probably going to be up their slowest and around this part of the circuit, so this is where the people perhaps with this sort of shorter wheelbases are perhaps going to most benefit. Going through then the loop into Aintree and then down the Wellington Straights. This is Aintree, and then down through the Wellington Straight. This is where, of course, in a Formula 1, you'd have your DRS open for the first part of this lap as well. We've got the first lap times coming in, by the way. De Battista initially setting a 1:57.9, so plenty of lap time available, we think, with Kassar 6/10 back. Manduka just now heading through Lovefield.
Yep, so 6/10 clear of Sean Kassar. Maya Lafela, she's down by 2.7 seconds. Denzel Agius throws the McLaren in third position at just about 8.5 tenths of a second away. And there is the chase going along then from Adrian Manduka at Copse Corner, the former turn number 1, catching a hefty amount of curb on that inside. Now that will induce a lot of understeer through the corner, heading through Maggots, the small left. We go back to Sheldon Muscat, who in the Aston Martin is going to be looking to try and play a very good gunner today for the likes of Aaron De Battista, but Manduka has the fastest time now on a 1:57.4 and moves nearly half a second clear. Now, worth noting here today, not running the Grand Prix pits. We run the national pits here today, so Copse will be turn 1, and this final corner of Woodcote is the drive to the line. Muscat goes third fastest.
Knew I'd get caught out, so please I got caught out early on that one. Going through then the final corner, then we're onward board with Denzel Agius. That's the Project Versio McLaren, as he's just heading his way then through the next set of corners, as we've got Bartsch in the pit lane there. We've got Johan Borg in the BMW, expecting the BMs probably to be semi-decent, we think, potentially tonight. We'll have to see, though. I think the lack of power down the straights, though, could be pose a little bit of a problem for the M Sports machines, as he's just heading through Vale, then into Club, is Johan Borg in the TAL Xbox, the BMW, as he's just heading down now what is now the Hamilton Straight.
Yep, named after Sir Lewis Hamilton, of course, and over towards the fast right-hander then of Abbey Corner, which used to be a left-right chicane, which led through the corners of Bridge and Priory, which truly did test the drivers. Out of Farm, finding yourself into the Village, and then the loop corner. That's pushing it a little bit wide, going through the Village corner. Only really a 95-degree right-hand bend, but feels so much like a hairpin.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit more of a tighter corner, and I think especially more prominent in these GT3 cars as opposed to the typical Formula 1. In fact, we've just seen someone spin out behind him as well. I believe it's the number 46 car has just gone for a little bit of a spin. That's Koscheck in the other BMW, actually, at that corner, as again losing the rear ever so slightly. Johan Borg going through into Lovefield. So looking a little bit uncomfortable out there at the moment are the BMs, as he just goes into the pit lane, and we'll obviously get a new set of boots on the car.
Yep, so that will be another chance to go back out. Aaron De Battista, though, has just stolen the pole away now by 0.07 of a second. So Manduka, who was 4/10 clear, does have help, though. Denzel Agius is having a fantastic qualifying, although Sheldon Muscat now bridges that gap and goes to third at a 10th behind. But Denzel Agius currently at half a second back in fourth for Project Versio. That's the sort of driver that Aaron De Battista does not want to see anywhere near the front tonight, is the fact that if a Versio can get drivers up there, there are 3 drivers who are in play for VMD Intercomp SimSport, and you would have to feel, with a championship on the line, that VMD would probably play the game.
Yeah, of course, Versio will be happy to also play the game as well. Of course, if everything falls in favour for them, we're on board with Denzel Agius actually getting a nice tow, would you believe, from his teammate in the other EVE McLaren as well. So that could be something to consider later down the line if they're going to help themselves around here with just a little bit under 12 minutes to go, heading through Lovefield. We'll see if he dives into the pit lane, though, does the McLaren, or is he going to start another lap? Yeah, looks like he's going to start another lap, and off he will go.
And that's Maya Lafela just in front there, moving up to 6th position at 2.1 seconds off the pace. Currently, Agius does improve, moves to now just 3.5 tenths of a second off of Aaron De Battista. So a good call and decision there, driving back, or taking the toe back to the pits, I should say, as there is Lafela now running through Beckett's corner now, the long right-hander, the small flick left is Chapel onto the hangar straight, and Lafela looks around and thinks, well, it would be nice to have a little bit of toe and slipstream down these long straights, because this will be a high-speed circuit, but it's high speed quite often when it comes to aerodynamic downforce, when these cars are very reliant on mechanical grip to get through the corners. That's why you see such a disparity in terms of pace.
It's a shame we haven't seen Maya Lafela actually throughout this entire season, because actually she's not a bad driver out there at the moment. In that midfield, she could have posed, I reckon, a bit of a challenge potentially to the likes of James Smith throughout this season. I think it's the over 40s club, James Smith, as Maya Lafela will come across the line, still 2.1 seconds down as she's now heading through the right-hander. Of course, it's the old international pit straight, of course, not the official finishing line as well, of course, of this particular race, as they're now heading through the arena section. Keep an eye out, not just diving out the way, perfectly placed as well for the McLaren, looking to just keep up the pace and potentially put a little bit of a pressure potentially on the likes of Agius and Kassar.
Yeah, and that pressure is going to be important to note, because if you're 1.5 seconds back, it's not going to necessarily feel like pressure immediately, but if you can bridge that gap to be within a second, within half a second, you can certainly say that there is a lot more out there that can be found. Lafela now through Luffield corner, and hoping that this lap has just over halfway. Oh, has a big twitch going through. That will be a dive into pits, with the lap being abandoned then. Going on by. There are 3 drivers out there who are yet to set a time, and they are, of course, the 2 BMWs of Johan Borg and Bart Schuj. I think Schuj might have to go from the back, and then you've got Ulul in the 21 rookie McLaren, who will also be yet to have a time at this stage. James Smith then for the over 40 club through the Vale and moving through the middle sector of the lap, trying to get this final area done and moving into turn, or what is normally known as turn number 1 for car 1, but moving through the turn of Abbey, now in through Farm and into the village.
Yeah, through the arena section, James Smith 2.3 seconds down and about a couple of tenths down on Maya Lafela as he's just heading through turn 4, then into 5, and then, of course, down the Wellington Straight. Keep an eye out, actually, on James Smith tonight, because he's got a little bit of a redemption arc, I think, this particular weekend. I think the Aston is also going to be fairly sharp around this circuit. Usually is, to be fair, as he's just tucking the car then through the left-hander and then into Luffield. Keep an eye out on him tonight, because I do think he is going to be one to watch, especially in the midfield.
Yeah, being in 7th position right now, knowing that Sean Kassar is the big challenger in front as far as championship standings points are to be concerned. That's a jump up, though, to 6th position, so that will certainly allow a little bit more room to work with, knowing that 2 rivals around for that battle, 4th, 5th and 6th, are 4th, 5th and 6th at the moment in this field, with James Smith now at 1.8 seconds off the pole. It gives you a lot of what to do. On the nose with Adrian Manduka running through the opening sector, coming out then of Beckett's corner, trying to attack the curb as much as possible at Chapel. Got to be very careful about grabbing the grass on the exit, under the entrance to the circuit, and now over towards Stowe. This is a commitment corner where we will expect a handful of opportunities to be made over the course of racing.
Yeah, that's probably going to be one of the hot spots, I think, for some racing here tonight. Usually it's in Formula 1 as well, never mind in GT3. Chucking the car then through the Vale chicane then, and this is where I think, again, we're going to be seeing people potentially go for a last-ditch attempt, potentially, at some overtakes. Going through the right-hander then, down the international pit straight, and then remember, no timing line on this particular lap. Of course, it's done on the national pit straight. Chucking the car through the right-hander then of Abbey, through Farm and then into the loop, to the farm rather. You've got to keep an eye out on the likes of Adrian Manduka here tonight, because that Ford Mustang has been particularly potent at all of the circuits throughout this championship, so will it continue to be so? Exactly the same here in Silverstone.
Well, the question will be whether this is going to have a lot more security on this. He knows he's in a must-win situation with the way the points lie. He knows that Aaron De Baptista's got to run into troubles, and he knows that his teammate Denzel Agius has got to put the pressure on Sheldon Muscat today to put the most direct point of cannot get by into position. For De Baptista, knowing that he's got 5 drivers within about 0.6 of a second, the one place he doesn't want to be today is P5. He's got 2 teammates who can play that game, but Adrian Manduka over the line can find an extra 1/10 and a half out there to move to pole position currently, a 57.190. Muscat remaining in 3rd, and Denzel Agius now pushing along the hangar straight.
Taking a bit of gravel, though, going out of the Magus Beckett's and down into Chapel, so might lose a little bit of time going all the way down this straight, then chucking the car through Stowe, the right-hander, of where, again, we're expecting some of the overtaking to potentially occur in the race here tonight. And then going into the Vale chicane, you've got Vale. This left-hander is going to be a Titan, then through Club, another Titan. That curve on the exit really comes at you very quickly. Then going through onto the Hamilton straight. This is where we'd expect the McLaren to be at its best. That's a raw engine at the back of the McLaren, chucks the car through the left, and it goes left to go right. Does the EVE McLaren, and it looks like it's going to be a bit more of a sharpen here from Denzel Agius. He's trying to find the time potentially he lost when he went into the grass.
Yep, and if you lose a little bit of time, you're really trying to fight to gather it back. And Agius at half a second down on his own teammate knows that there are limited opportunities. It does take time to get the tyres into the operating window, but at least right now at this point, it's about what Denzel Agius can do to find that extra pace. It's about 0.3 of a second to leapfrog, or 1/4 of a second even, to get by Sheldon Muscat out of left field corner. Will that McLaren be able to gallivant over to the line and find the time necessary, trying to cut as little track as he can, and over that line a 57.9, so down 0.2 on that lap compared to best.
Yeah, he found a little bit of time, I reckon, in the final sector, but unfortunately for him, he did not look comfortable. Unfortunately, I tell you, one person is looking comfortable. Manduka, 0.3 he's found on that last lap, and he's put now 0.4 between him and De Baptista. What a lap from Manduka. 4 minutes to go, and the pressure is on the championship leader.
Well, that just shows you how money that lap was from Adrian Manduka. First driver to break the 57s and find a 56 out there on board. De Baptista and Muscat are both out on circuit currently, but it is putting a massive wedge in this field at the moment. It pulls Jamie Smith and Myla Furler back at 2 seconds away, and Denzel Agius abandoning that lap. It's probably only going to be able to get one more attempt to go out there on tyres that will not be 100% up to temperature. There is Myla Furler, and there is Sean Cassar. Don't count Sean out, only a 10th behind Denzel Agius at the moment. 57.820 is an improvement, but still needing that 10th, and it is exactly 1/10 to go and get by Denzel Agius, but that will be car pulled over to the side with a couple of green flags waving there, which will be a little bit confusing for some of the drivers. See green flags in the stands and yellow flags potentially out there on track.
Yeah, Myla Furler just struggling a little bit with the rear. Perhaps tyres are a little bit cold as she gets going with her lap, I believe, as she's now coming across the line to start on her lap as well. So it would have been, she's got her best lap as 1:59.297, so it's not the worst lap in the world, but it puts her within the ballpark of around James Smith, which is pretty much where she's been throughout this season. So them two would have had a real good scrap if she competed in all of the races available to her. It's just a shame that she did not. Here's Aaron De Baptista then. He's just gone massively wide. If it's grey, it's okay, apparently, going through that corner. I believe that one was Cops, as he's now going through Maggots and Beckett's. So the Audi definitely putting the pressure on himself at the moment, more than Manduka, who's actually looking so comfortable.
No, a massive wiggle at the Beckett's corner and really having to fight the opening sector of the lap. And as such, it's going to be a case of I'm going to weave the car along the stretch, get more tyre temperature involved under my 4 boot out there. And that Audi, of course, which runs with that very short wheelbase there, James, is going to be a car that often gets twitchy out there, more so than others.
Yeah, more corners around the this particular circuit than perhaps all of the tracks that we've raced at this calendar. So I think that offers potentially opportunities for the Audi, more opportunities for the Audi to be a little bit snappy. He's just started, had got caught out again. He would have started his lap, but he's not started his lap here because, of course, that's the international straight going through Abbey into Farm Curve. We'll see then. This is where perhaps we'll start to see the weakness of the Audi, chucking the car through the right-hander. Will it be a bit snappy as he gets on the loud pedal? Well, we'll never know. Sheldon Muscat is who we're going to be following now in the Aston Martin as he is just going through Maggots and Beckett.
Yeah, so for Sheldon Muscat, this is the gearing up of his final qualifying attempt. When the checkered flag comes out, you are allowed to finish the lap that you start. Do not expect lap from Shuz or Adrian, Konchek, Borg, or Gat. So the bottom half of the field is pretty much secured. Denzel Agius is done in qualifying. It's up to everyone else, the likes of the two Ferraris of Abdul Muez Sahel and Gabriel Quattramani, to find time, of Chris Gat, who is there sitting in 10th position to improve by a second. James Smith will not improve any further, does go to 6th position and finds about 3/10 over Myla Fella, but that will work down through the bottom of the circuit then for Sheldon Muscat, hoping that this lap time's going to work. A bit of slipstream there from the McLaren of Gat in front will certainly help. That might even be Alul in the number 21. It is Alul who is there in front. So this is a critical lap that needs to be found. The 444 out there on circuit. Car number 93, Adrian Manduka, will be the first car over the line when the checkered flag comes out. So might be able to extend that buffer even further. There's the checkered flag. So now we wait over towards the National Straight, which will be the final port of call on the Wellington. It's Sheldon Muscat hoping to improve because Sean Kassar can't do so, stuck in 5th position. Now we look around. Andrew Manduka won't be able to improve, stays on a 56.9. Muscat now trying to get through the final corner, having to really work for rotation through this final section, was battling a little bit of oversteer through the middle of the corner with the way that went through, and abandons the lap, so stays 3rd at best as it goes. De Battista can't improve either. Manduka has done exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, perfect. That's exactly what Manduka wanted. And as well, it's not even a small margin either. Just under half a second at 0.413 seconds. Means that De Battista is definitely going to feel the pressure of Adrian Manduka, who is chucking all of his eggs into the basket at Silverstone. Myla Furlan not improving. She dives into the pit lane, and that will end the session there. She'll qualify P7. Top rookie, no surprises as well. Sahel once again, and Quattramani also in the mix. Fabulous stuff.
Absolutely wonderful stuff out there from those drivers who look to try and push themselves to the point of what can they get. It's perfect from Adrian Manduka, but Aaron De Battista, very Alain Prost-like, doing just what is necessary. Top 4 today gets it done. Being in P2 gets the job sorted. But we are just moments away from jumping over to racing action. That is going to be on the other side of this commercial break. Stay with us here for racing action here today from our play at Silverstone, because the final round of racing will come up after this. Stage set then, as we get ourselves ready for racing action. 45 minutes will be on the clock. 1 pit stop will be required, and at the end of it, a champion from one of car 93 or 26. Adrian Manduka and Aaron De Battista know what sits in front of them, and that is the opportunity to be the champion of the MOZA Racing Malta GT Cup. But James, this is where your mettle is tested at its finest. You've built your championship seasons to get to this point. Now you have to execute one final time.
Yeah, this is it. The last call for the drivers to make their way around the circuit and begin this race. Of course, this will be a rolling start, so this is the reconnaissance lap as the drivers will warm their tyres up, get themselves in the sweet spot of this particular race and try to get out there with the fastest car possible early on. Who wins between EVE and Intercomp? Who wins between Manduka and De Battista? We will find out in just 45 minutes time.
And to find that momentum, to find that one piece of reach where other people would not have the opportunity to climb to that highest level, the only way you are going to jump up to the very, very top is by finding 45 minutes of pure brilliance in racing. There are other drivers who can intersperse themselves in terms of this championship battle. Third in the championship, Sheldon Muscat will be playing the game. So too will Sean Cassar here for Aaron De Battista here today. But the role of Denzel Agius is going to be the key that unlocks this race. If he can get close and can start putting a cat amongst the pigeons, potentially there is an opportunity for mistakes to be abound.
Absolutely, because there's more opportunities for overtaking around a circuit like this one compared to the other ones we've raced at. Anybody could go for a last-ditch overtake and make it, or potentially send someone and break it and send it into the gravel trap, that's for certain. It's about the midfield as well, don't forget, in this particular championship. Sean Cassar, 4th place on 58. James Smith is 7 behind. Denzel Agius is 1 behind him. Bart Shij is only 6 behind him. George Pash is only 1 point behind him. And then Gabriel Crochamani is only 4 behind him. So that midfield battle is so close and anything can happen. As one commentator, the old Murray Walker once said, anything can happen and it usually does.
So do not count out the possibility of the unfathomable becoming reality, because that could very easily be the case here today. We talk about how strong the different balance of performances have been. There is a lot to try and be gained, but the one driver I want to focus on at the back of the field didn't set a qualifying time. Bart Shij will probably be the biggest indicator there for the D-Rank Squad Racing BMW of how this field is going to give moving forward into racing action that we've got. Question will be asked, can Bart Shij run through the field very similar to what he did a week ago to move up and maybe challenge in and around, I would say 7th place, 6th place would be great for Bart Shij.
Yeah, and to be fair, he's not unknown for being able to make some strides and moves up the field early on and actually make some good progress. So he is going to be one to watch. He'll be one to watch alongside, I believe, Gabriel Crochamani as well, making it onto the leaderboard as well in the top 9 on 39 points, and the highest ranking Pro-Am driver between him and Kozchek. But he is behind the rookie driver of Sir Hale, who has also been fabulous to watch this season. Before we get going, quick reminder, of course, there is a mandatory pit stop that must be served 5 minutes after the start of the race, but 5 minutes before the end, and that is indicated by the 1 that you see next to people's numbers. That will turn green if they have submitted their pit stop that they need to do. Here we go.
And now as these drivers pull to 2 wide, they are now not allowed to go over the speed limit of the pit limiter. They will have to wait until the green flag drops before they go up. If they go so much as 1 kilometre an hour over the top, then they will be pinged with a drive-through penalty early. Your final opportunity of this season, a duel for the title. Manduka versus De Battista gets itself set and ready. The players of the game are set. The opportunity arises, and at this moment in time, in sim time, just gone 7:05, the green flag is just about ready to drop, and will do so right now. And Chris Gatt gets a drive-through penalty for speeding immediately. Cops corner, round the outside goes Aaron De Battista. He absolutely gets it to a T. And says, well, one way to not lose is by being in P1.
One absolute blinder of a start from De Battista, then immediately closing that gap up and overtaking Manduka. Question of whether he kept it within the track limits, though. He's struggling already with the tyres, potentially. Is he struggling with potentially with the track limits? That could be one to watch later down the line as he's trying to break the toe. And no issue for Manduka, though, as he's closing down the gap. We're on board with Sheldon Muscat. He'll be happy to potentially swamp Manduka here and give his Intercomp teammates some help.
Remember, track limits are enforced in game. If you go over the limits too much, there are penalties that do get applied. Muscat in the Aston Martin remaining close through the Vale, and now into Club Corner to round out towards the middle of the second sector out there. Behind that is Agius and Kassar and Jamie Smith, who is sat there in sixth position. Look at them. You could throw a blanket on them as they run through Abbey Corner and looking to go into the loop section.
Oh, Manduka!
Big power lunge going towards the inside, but Manduka, sensing the fact he must win, is now harassing and hounding the back of the Audi.
No, he's absolutely putting the Audi under all sorts of pressure, and the De Battista setting the early precedent. Yes, I didn't have to pace in qualifying, but in the race, you're going to have to fight for it. Manduka saying, all right, I will make some swings, and he is absolutely punching at the moment. Is that EVE Ford Mustang? He is keeping the pressure up the rear end of that Audi. This race is going to be intense. 43 minutes to go.
Well, to think that's just 2 minutes, I'm not sure we can manage a full 45 of it being this aggressive this early on. And now you start sensing, where do you go? Where's the looks? Muscat the fastest lap, thought about the outside in Manduka, not there. And he runs slightly with a bit of understeer. He's going to have to push off the circuit. Sheldon Muscat might try and bring himself into play here. And they'll look either side as they head to Maggots and Beckett's, but no dice. Still, you got Andrews there. Oh my goodness, how close do you want to be with contact? That was very nearly a race ender for Adrian Manduka, and now he's fully on the defence here from Sheldon Muscat.
What a fabulous bit of driving there from Manduka to hold the car and get it pointed in the right direction. He got a little hit up the butt from the likes of Muscat, who is definitely putting the pressure on the Ford Mustang, but no doubt with that slightly little bit now of cleaner air, Manduka will be happy to use up that space and get back up to the rear end of De Battista. That will not shake the man in second place in this championship. We've got an overtake happening at the back, by the way, and that is between Kassar and James Smith, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. It might be Asgius and Kassar, actually. They're in their own little scrap for fourth and fifth.
They are, and it's having to be hefty defending from Denzel Agius at the moment. Sean Kassar is putting every single amount of pressure on to try and keep at bay the likes of Denzel Agius to give that license to attack for what is going to be Sheldon Muscat in the 0014, I like to call it, as he's here in Europe right now, here in Britain, running in an Aston Martin. But at the moment, this is less spy thriller and more total thriller at the moment as they go by. And now they get a little bit of time to try and settle down and find their rhythm. Still waiting on Gat to serve that drive-through penalty as Adrian Manduka puts himself then in that second place. And most of our focus today is going to be up near the front of this field and how many points can be scored. Barsha's, by the way, already up 12th position, so has gone by Adrian, has gone by Borg, has gone by Konchek and Gat, and so we'll be looking around and saying, well, Louis will be next on the list through turn number one, Cop Corner once again, and Adrian Manduka now just has to put the hard yards in, and there's a little bit of an abandoned cone on the right-hand side. Chris Gat now takes his drive-through.
Yeah, from one gap to another as well. Oh, that's a corner cut and a half there from Manduka. He's obviously expecting a bucket of understeer. That never happened. But from one gap to another, that's Jamie Gart, unfortunately, caused a brief yellow flag earlier on. He's now down at the back of the field in the Lamborghini. He's really not found any comfort in that car throughout this particular game is the rookie. He'll obviously take those learnings into the next ACC Championship that he competes in. Another yellow flag waving as well, and that's for the number 66, I believe, of Borg. The BMW has also gone for a spin at Maggots.
Yeah, that's really difficult. It's in the middle of that transfer between Maggots and Beckett's where Johan Borg's gone off the circuit. Doesn't look like there's any damage on it, just a little damage to the Pride maybe going through that section. So drops back. Pit window now officially open. You've got to have served your pit stop by the time 5 minutes is left on the clock. But look at the launch from Manduka. He can carry that medium speed as he goes by to the outside. Contact between the title contenders and a little push from Aaron De Battista. Still enough to hold at the moment, but we'll take a look at the replay here and see just how it goes about, looking to go really aggressive to the right-hand side. Oh, and that's just Rubbings Racing.
Yeah, a bit of a love tap maybe from De Battista, willing to get his elbows out against his championship co-compatriot. The battle's still happening at the moment as well between these two. And don't forget, Sheldon Muscat very happy to get up there and overtake Manduka as well. And of course, that will help his Intercomp teammate out, slow the car up and allow De Battista to just start making his own race. But in order to do that, he has to get in front. And at the moment, Manduka very much able to make those moves and be as aggressive as he possibly can.
Well, he knows he has to. He knows he's got no other alternatives. By the way, that was 4 consecutive fastest laps. De Battista, Manduka, Muscat, and Agius out there. The 112 there of Adrian has had a spin going through the loop. That drops him to the back. That's why the yellow flags were out there through sectors 2 and 3. Out there at that point, now through Beckett's corner, looking to lead here to Chapel and this run along the straight. Muscat has to abandon ship, and does he gain an advantage there by cutting the chicane and using that little runoff area to the end? Now here comes the switch, trying to go to the inside pocket, left open for Manduka, can't quite get there. Here goes the likes of Muscat trying to go around the outside. The former champion is trying to put pressure on.
No, I love Silverstone. This is exactly what Silverstone brings. Oh, it's a late breaker. Oh, down the inside and catching De Battista out. Oh, it's another little barge there. Make it 1 cone, make it 2 cone. There goes Muscat. He gets the move. That's what he needed in order to help his teammate out. But Manduka will be raging from ear to ear. He wants to get this one done and dusted as soon as possible.
That's just pure pressure that's in play. Allure is in the pits, by the way, for that stop. But you are really sensing in this race that everybody has a similar level of pace to go and work with. And I've never seen Adrian Manduka so aggressive. Turn around, and there is the hit. Allure's been disqualified, by the way, from this race and is out. But there, turned around, it's car 14. And you expected this one for Sheldon Muscat to be an aggressive race here to go through. And that was just a case of sniffing the nose and not having enough room to work with on the exit.
Yeah, full-blown replay here then as he's going through then into the corner, and you can see then he just puts his nose in. He knows he wants to put that pressure in, and then bang, sends the car into a spin. He thinks that he was hard done by earlier on. He thinks he's now got his payback. Now he's going to try and chase down De Battista. Question is, will the stewards determine that one to be of the fault of the man in second place in this championship?
Well, the key to that is going to be of this. Any stewards' penalties will be applied post-race and not in server. So it will be a hold your horses moment should this go down to decision. The only other question you could ask about that in the case as Denzel Agius pushes really deep there through Beckett's corner, if Manduka feels like that there was some unnecessary slowness on the exit from Sheldon Muscat, that might be his only saving grace.
Yeah, remember the Intercomp drivers were going to be helping each other out to try and give De Battista the best shot of winning this title. If he went in a little bit too slow, it might have caught Manduka out, and that might be a case with the stewards, but it'll probably be viewed negatively upon Manduka because at the end of the day, he's got to be the person that commits the overtake safely. In that scenario, he really didn't. He just got his nose in, caused a spin. He's back in second. Gap, though, 1.5.
So work to do to try and bring that gap down. We focus on Denzel Agius here in 4th position. Remember, he's going to be having a championship battle with Sean Cassar, trying to pick up that 4th place in the championship, and is down by about 9 points, needs some help. Sheldon Muscat, that spin has dropped him all the way down to 7th position. Lots of work to try and claw back through the field. First target on the list for Sheldon will be keeping his eyes pointed on the McLaren of Myla Furler, who is there in 6th.
Yeah, of course, Myla Furler racing really well with James Smith throughout this season, but a little bit of a gap between her and the over 40 clubs. Aston Martin looking to just manage his own race pace and try and secure a good spot in the midfield is James Smith. He's been a cracking racer to watch actually throughout this particular championship. Denzel Agius, though, with the fastest lap of this race, looking to get moves done. Question is of if he is going to be anywhere near the likes of Cassar. We've got a spinner, and Kozchek of the BMW has gone for a spin. Here's the replay then, so it looks like he's just going into the corner. Does he touch the grass on entry? Oh no, he late breaks it, hits the grass, and there he goes, and he's into a real spin actually there in the BMW, and now he returns back on circuit, but all the way down in 14th.
That's what we call an overcommitment into the corner. He's got the 46 stylized like Valentino Rossi on the side. And look at those lights flashing from Adrian Manduca as he looks to try and use every trick, and I mean every trick in the book, to try and distract Aaron De Battista out there. In one lap, he's clawed a full second back, so it indicates how bottled up Adrian Manduca has been over the last few laps as he's gone through. He's been able to claw that gap back to where it's needed, and now look at Aaron De Battista and the looming threat behind of that Ford Mustang compared to that Audi R8 LMS Evo 2. Here comes Adrian Manduca. Will he look to try and set this one up again? It's defended middle of the road by Aaron De Battista. Again for Adrian Manduca, can't quite find the line.
Fabulous there from Manduca to really close that gap up once again. He's hoping to try, remember as well, not just get the overtake done on De Battista. He's then going to want to try and slow down the likes of De Battista to potentially bring Cassar, Agius and James Smith into the battle. Of course, that will then force De Battista into losing position. So there is a long-term game here for Manduca. In order to do it, though, he needs to get in front of the Audi.
If he needs to try and manufacture this race the way that he knows he can, only way he can do that is by being in the race lead. He's got no other alternatives here today except must win the scenario. Right to the pit wall, to the outside, to Cop's corner. Now trying to go the long way around Cop's. Very tough to do and go around there. Yellow's out again for Adrian, who's spun down at the Vale. But for the moment, Manduca, he's getting close, he's getting opportunities, but he's not able to find that pass. But he is forcing defensive driving out of Aaron De Battista, who does look rattled.
Oh, the engine just sounds awesome in that Audi, doesn't it? As it just goes down then the Kemmel straightway. We're expecting, the Chapel Straight, looking to try and keep the pressure off of Manduca and put in a little bit of a gap between him and the Ford Mustang on this last lap as well. A couple of missed apexes actually from Manduca as he's looking to just reconcile and get ready for another attack, maybe in another couple of laps' time. But of course, that will invite the likes of Cassar and Agius into the battle, which will only help Manduca if he gets in front of De Battista.
As that happens, Sheldon Muscat is through on Myla Furler, and that jumps him back to 6th position, 4.5 seconds to James Smith, who is falling off the back of these front four right now, and that is news or tune to the ears of Aaron De Battista. Remember, he only needs the top 4 in this championship to make it work. Jamie Gatt is down in the lane right now in the Lamborghini, taking that one mandatory pit stop that's required. Manduca is going to need a lot of help and maybe even a bit of pit lane magic to come along and make this championship his own. But for the moment, one thing he'll be focusing on is the race win. Close here as they go along the Wellington Straight in towards Brooklands Corner. This slowing but yet very aggressive left-hander to Luffield, which has 2 different lines you can take. You can hug the entirety of the inside, or you can diamond the corner, try and get the run off the exit. Both drivers choose to take the inside line to make it work, and through the small little flick of woodcut and over the line for another lap, as they have now got 7 laps now they start in this race.
The very nature of the cars means that the Mustang is going to be so much more confident going through Brooklands, but going out of Luffield, the Audi is going to have the advantage because the change in direction is so much more cleaner for De Battista, but he's hitting a few grass areas at the moment, so that may invite Manduka into a little bit of a scrap now, going through down into the Stowe corner, and he is significantly closer. Is he going to pose a challenge potentially going into Stowe? He's looking for the inside line, but it is firmly shut by De Battista, so around the outside he will go. This will be one hell of a move if he gets this one to work, and the door firmly shut in his face. He is certainly keeping the pressure on the championship leader. Fantastic.
And look at what all this battling's doing. Sean Cassar will now play the understudy, which was played earlier on in this race by Sheldon Muscat. It's a case of next one up in the play, and they are dropping Denzel Agius at this point. So it looks like there's not as much pressure from Aversia here to the VMD Intercomp Sim Sport drivers. So now for Adrian Manduka, it's where do you set up this move? Where do you set up this pass? And it's still not quite there. 15 minutes of great racing has already brought itself to the forefront. De Battista still holding and wanting a 4th win this season, which I tell you what, in a 5-round championship, to have 4 wins would be the sign of just how good Aaron's been.
Yeah, it's been absolutely fabulous from start to finish, but the thing is, title's still not decided, and at the moment, I'd argue, Manduka is looking so much faster than De Battista, which begs the question, if he does get in front of the Audi, will he be able to pull a distance, and if so, how much of a distance? Because if he pulls enough of a distance against De Battista, that actually any potentially impending penalties as a result of the collision with Muscat occurs, he might still hold on to the race victory, which is what he needs in order to win the championship. Remember though, behind Manduka is another Intercomp driver, and I don't think Cassar is going to put De Battista under that much pressure to potentially lose this title. It's all going to be about how Denzel Agius does. Can he close up on Cassar and keep up the pressure and help his EVE teammate in second place? Another touch in the grass, by the way, from De Battista.
Yep, so each and every single corner becomes one where you can go and attack. You can get more out there. Manduka staying close once more, still thinking there's opportunity. Outside line, searches again at Stowe corner, but again slightly deep in, but now looking to pick up the mid-speed off the exit, maybe give that launch and run. Going to be stuck on the outside here, heading to the Vale, heading to Club Corner. If you can hold around the outside, you got a chance, but now looking to cut back once, to cut back twice, and get that drive off the exit. Don't leave yourself exposed, Adrian, because Sean Cassar will definitely want to try and sniff and find a way through. How far are you going to go? All the way to the pit wall to defend that one into Abbey corner. Manduka's throwing what he can at it, but De Battista is driving desperately on this defense. Little look to that inside again, heading into Village. This is tough battling.
Yeah, De Battista has to be careful though, because there's an argument there for a couple of changes of direction under braking, and that could be penalised if Manduka wants to pin blame on De Battista. Any more of that, and De Battista could be at risk. He has to be careful not to look desperate.
Yep, and not only that, I would say the pit window's going to be interesting, and if I was Manduka stuck in second behind Aaron De Battista, I'd do the counterintuitive thing. I'd pit with him, because you want to be as aggressive as possible. Knowing the championship scenario, you have got to be tucked up underneath and being a nuisance all race long.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on that one. This is where you typically would say, oh, if you're just going for the race victory, of course you'd pit early because you're clearly the faster driver. But on this particular occasion, you need to make sure that your Coca Patria in this championship is not behind you, is actually significantly further behind you. Is going side by side through maggots. That'd be unwise, and tucks right back in again. But that Ford Mustang is looking so sharp through these corners. Are we going to see another touch in the grass this time? No. He's learnt his lesson as De Battista, but he's gone a little bit wide as a result. Could that offer opportunity? There it is. He's got on the grass once again. De Battista really starting to feel the pressure from the likes of Manduka. Will he be able to put any kind of challenge then going through into Stowe? I think he's a little bit too far back on this occasion, but he could go for the switchback and potentially put pressure going through into the Vale chicane.
1, 2, 3, 4. Throw a blanket on them. Agius is caught back up. Sheldon Muscat trying to go for 5th. Outside line again tries to be found. And once more, it's a case of Adrian Manduka being stymied behind Aaron De Battista, looking every which way for a way to get through. And again, all the way even further this time to the pit wall to try and make it happen. Long way around here at Abbey Corner. Not going to work for Adrian Manduka. Does he leave himself vulnerable over the curb? How heavy do you want to be, Sean Cassar? This will leave Denzel Agius now. Look down the inside, 3 wide as they go in towards Manduka spins. That might be that.
Oh, no, it's the EVE drivers have gone for it. I do not know what Agius was thinking going down the inside line. He was trying to race with the other Intercomp driver and he's collided into his own teammate and he's costed potentially the title to his co-compatriot. Here it is on the replay. You can see as they're going through farm and then they're heading into the area. Look at the McLaren on the inside. He goes for it. Bang! Sends his teammate round.
Rule 1. Do not hit your teammate. Rule 2, do not hit your teammate. You shout it louder. And Adrian Manduka, unsurprisingly, is going to give himself some fresh air to go and attack. He'll jump into the pits, but so too has De Battista and Cassar. So he obviously wants to try and chase. We know he's got pace to chase, but for the moment, Denzel Agius right now is going to be very, very sheepish behind that number 89 McLaren.
He will be brought straight into the garage. He'll be sat down and he will be given probably some earplugs because his team manager will be absolutely livid with the McLaren. This is exactly what EVE wanted. He wanted all of the drivers to be close together, potentially launch an attack together. Whoa. As we've got Abdelmoez Sahel struggling at the moment in the Ferrari. They wanted the team to be close together, and what's ended up happening is in the midst of trying to get past third place, he's crashed into his own teammate, and Manduka, no surprises, comes straight into the pits to do his mandatory pit stop and try and use some fresher tyres to potentially close out the gap. I don't think he'll have enough damage to be warranted a significant pit stop, but one thing is for certain, he is going to be so livid that now this title hunt is so much harder.
Well, not only does he have to get by Sean Cassar, not only does he have to get by Aaron De Battista, he will also need Aaron De Battista to have mistakes. James Smith we focus with here in third position. He's lost the place out to Sheldon Muscat, who's now ahead by 2 seconds. The chase is about 5.5 for Sheldon Muscat to Denzel Agius. And so now Sheldon Muscat becomes an interesting figure in this race. With the spin that was there for the likes of Adrian Manduka, it puts Sheldon Muscat back in this race. And if Muscat can come in, pit, and be within 2 seconds of Adrian Manduka, which I don't think is impossible, I think there's a real position point to say Sheldon Muscat can still feature right now. Traffic there on the outside trying to stay out of the way. I believe that's going to be the 112 there of Adrian, who stays out of trouble. Smith stays out for another lap. But this is now bring that another dynamic. And we talk about this as a championship finale. You put these drivers in a scenario where there is consequence for everything that they're doing, the highest level they can possibly attain here in the multi-sim racing scene, and they are giving everything they can for it.
Look, the bottom line is Manduka is racing to the absolute maximum he possibly can, and others are trying to help him out in the process. These things are tripping over each other's shoes, are just basically what racing is all about. There is no harm and no disgust against any of the drivers that are involved in any kind of collisions here. It's just a shame that it has occurred, and that will potentially really, really mess up Manduka's opportunity to take this title tonight, even if you think the likes of De Battista had one hand on the trophy going into it. Gabriel Quattromani, by the way, 5th place, 4 seconds back from Maya Lafurla, and they're still tucked in behind James Smith at the moment as well in 3rd place, who's having a decent race actually in the over 40 club Aston Martin.
So Abdelmoez Sahel hits the pits as leading rookie. You've also got Adrian, who is down in the pits at this moment too for the 112 Ford that's a lap down at this stage. Aaron De Battista, 6th position on the road currently, 5 cars in front yet to pit. Gabriel Quattromani, Maya Lafurla, James Smith, Sheldon Muscat and Denzel Agius. Those 5 cars in front, which will be looking at those stops. There is your race leader currently, Denzel Agius in the Project Averso McLaren. Johan Borg will now dive into the pits in the 66 BMW. And so now it's about what can you do to claw those gaps down. Manduka's giving it a good go, and in comes your race leader, Denzel Agius.
Yes, and he'll be coming in and the door will be open, and I think there will be a couple of taps on the shoulder to ask what was that about earlier on in the race against the likes of Manduka. He's just coming across now the start-finishing line as the international pit straight, rather, start-finishing line, as he now heads down, and he's trying to push so hard at the moment, is that Ford Mustang. Gap now about 3.8, was about 4.4 against the likes of Cassar, so he is gaining ever so slightly, but I don't think it's fast enough, to be perfectly candid with you. 20 minutes to go in this race, though. 15 minutes left, or just over 15 minutes left of the pit windows, and of course the front five still have to make their pit stop.
And the front five are all in together at the same time, which means now for Aaron De Battista, where does he come out in comparison to Denzel Agius and Sheldon Muscat? That's where you start wondering the story. That's where you look over to the timing tower, see that one tick over green, and it does now for Denzel Agius, who will be trying to run out of the pits. And does this work for car number 89, trying to get up to speed? No, it won't. So straight on by goes Aaron De Battista, moves back into the race lead. There's a car slow on the right-hand side trying to get back up to speed. That's Johan Borg, who's trying to stay out of the way as lap traffic. And third, it will be then for Denzel Agius. So it will put still back in fourth place then Adrian Manduka, but Sheldon Muscat's not going to be a million miles away.
Yes, that's the critical thing here. As we see there is the EVE McLaren. Of course, Muscat is in front in this battle as well, and that could pose a little bit of a further challenge, unfortunately, for the likes of Manduka, but keeping a very firm eye as we're on board with De Battista. Cassar is in a real good opportunity here now.
Yeah, this is a perfect scenario for Aaron De Battista. He knows he's got two rear gunners to work with, and there's going to have to be a lot of work to go through. Now, Quattromani has just spun coming out of the pit, so he's going to have really struggled with that Ferrari. But Adrian Manduka, talk about the lengths you need to go to win this championship. He's got to pass 4 drivers on track and hope that De Battista runs into a mistake. So he's asking for the world to help at this stage, but for the moment, he's got to try and get by the reigning champion, who will have the widest Aston Martin in all of Northamptonshire.
Yeah, that's the critical thing, isn't it? Now he's got to try and get this move done as quickly as possible, and he's already done it. He's already learned his lesson not to do it there, though, on this occasion as Manduka. So now he will look for it going down the Swellington Straight in the hope that potentially Luffield could potentially be an option. The car not particularly strong through Luffield, but certainly strong as he heads through into Brooklyn. So that might be of benefit if he goes for the dive, but on this occasion not doing so and flashing his lights to try and put pressure. Look how much pressure going through Brooklands. Brilliant.
Oh, it was close, and it really shows the finite levels of where they'll go to hit the brakes and find that run off of the exit. This has been the most abnormal performance for Adrian Manduka this season. He's normally the calmest head in the field every time he goes out there, but here today he finds himself in a very, very difficult scenario, and he knows that he's come together once already with Sheldon Muscat. He'll try and forget that like a goldfish, but both he and Sheldon will remember that like elephants, and they will hold that for season after season after season as they go by. There's Chris Gatt entering the pits in the Accelerate Racing McLaren there, running with those traditional papaya and blue colours that we normally see on Formula machinery. But Aaron De Battista clear by a second at the front of this field over his teammate Sean Cassar, with Denzel Agius just behind, 2 seconds adrift in third, a further 2 seconds then to Sheldon Muscat, who is still trying to hold that place.
17.5 minutes to go then in this session. James Smith looking to just hold on against Viola Furler. I think gap about 15 seconds, so it is all about the top 5 actually at the moment in their own little scrap. Manduka was hoping that he'd be in the position that De Battista is, and hoping that De Battista is in the position that he is, because that could have potentially won him a title tonight. But unfortunately, collisions all around in this particular race. We expected it at Silverstone. It's a high attrition circuit. We've already lost one. Are we going to lose any more? With a little bit over, rather, a third of this race left to go. Manduka certainly keeping the pressure though on Muscat as he goes through this corner. This is where the Mustang is strongest, going through Wellington, going into Brooklands. If he goes for the dive, he knows he's going to have the grip. Here he goes.
What a fantastic run out of Aintree, but doesn't move quick enough to get the slipstream. He's going to have to go around the outside and be braver on the brakes. Not going to work initially, but now trying to dive up and under. Is going to have to do it again here at Luffield. Tries to pinch down low and force No room at the end there to really shuffle out wide. He uses all of the runoff air on the exit, but Sheldon Muscat is a very wise character, knows how to hold that place up and does so well. Now here comes a little look for Cops, potentially for Manduka. Still not there, and you sense the weight of the world on his shoulders right now, and it's seemingly holding him down with a bit of drag on the straights to say he can't get by the Aston.
I feel for him a little bit here, because I think in any other racing scenario, he'd have probably gone for it by now, but he knows that one more spin and that will almost certainly end his championship hopes as he's going through on really pushing the Aston Martin to the limits as they're now going down the hangar straight, which is where we're expecting, again, the Mustang should be fairly strong going through Stowe. Is he going to have the traction going into the corner? He will, but will he be able to have it coming out of the corner, or will the Aston begin to pull away? And that's exactly what is occurring. He might go for the dive though, going into the Vale chicane. He is going later. Oh, it's not going to be close enough though. He stays behind the Aston Martin still. Can you believe it?
Well, this is really costing. Look at that gap, 3.3 seconds to his own teammate in that last lap. They've dropped 1.2 seconds out there, and for all of what Adrian Manduka is good at doing, as he has a big wiggle going through there, the opening of the Abbey corner. He's got to find something, and that is an almighty lunge down the inside. He'll overcook it through the corner, and he has to hit the brakes to not gain a lasting advantage, and as such, he's got to do that work again. So ultimately here, Sheldon Muscat has played an absolute blinder for his teammate Aaron De Battista, and now it is pretty much man-marking Adrian Manduka out of this race.
It's a whiff of desperation now, with a bit under now, a third of this race to go. Manduka knows that he's got a better car through this section of corners before he gets into Lovefield, but he went for it earlier and as a result paid the price. He needs to know where the car is at its best and go for the overtake there on the next lap. Do it at Brooklands, because the Mustang is clearly much more stronger through that corner versus the Aston Martin.
It's a case of try and try. Oh, actually get a run out of Cop's corner. Don't often see that one happen. Adrian Manduka has flown by into Maggots, an attempt to try and hold it there. Poor drive off the exit of Cops, and Manduka finally gets the number, but it's not secure just because he's got by. Remember, here's the hangar straight, and Sheldon Muscat can just attack straight back.
Oh, he is looking for it though, is Muscat. He's going to be weaving left and right, left and right. Don't weave into the braking zone, but looking fairly strong. The car should be a bit more confident going into the corner at Stowe. Coming out of the corner, the Aston should be decent. But once again, look at how much speed Manduka has got versus Muscat. He's found the rhythm. 5.5 seconds to find before he gets to Agius though. That is a long time, and with 13 minutes to go, there is Agius. How quickly can he get to the back of his teammate?
Well, Adrian Manduka has the fastest lap of this race, and he will have to set those laps over and over and over again to have any hope of moving up forward in this race, with Aaron De Battista leading a second clear of his teammate Sean Cassar. Denzel Agius, mind you, will be eyeing up finding the pass on Sean Cassar, because that scrap for fourth place in the championship is still very much alive and kicking at this moment. Denzel Agius comes into today 8 points down in the championship. The swing that is going to be there, if he gets into second and it's third out there for the likes of Sean Cassar, that will bring the gap down to 3. If Manduka comes along, he'd take the championship of fourth place by 1 championship point. So for Denzel Agius, he's got his own agenda. I want fourth in the championship.
Yeah, of course, and he's setting the fastest lap of this race as well at the moment is Denzel Agius, so that indicates to me he is obviously setting his own precedent as well, which actually could be at the cost of his teammate for a championship, which is certainly something that I'm sure Project Aversio are going to have their conversations over at the end of this race. A little bit under now, 12 minutes to go in this race. De Battista just cruising his Audi now to this race victory, this championship victory. Cassar not going to pose too much of a threat, but Agius has closed up the gap to Cassar. Question is Agius going to continue to put the pressure on Cassar? Will that help Manduka? Gap still about 5.5 seconds between him and Agius, though, for Manduka. Not been the cleanest last lap.
No, I think Adrian Manduka here is going to be seeing that gap and see it's not budging right now. And that might be the wave of a white flag as far as the championship goes for him. He now is very reliant on mistake here from Denzel Agius, and something catastrophic for this race to turn the other way as it goes. So for Denzel Agius now, he knows that he's got to play that role to try and jump by Sean Cassar and keep the pace up. De Batista's got what he wants. Sean Cassar has got what he wants. 0.8 of a second here as they go through Aintree Corner and on to the Wellington Straight.
Fabulous stuff so far as well in the midfield, as you were just rightfully mentioning. You got Myla Furler and James Smith still holding each other at the moment in 6th and 7th place. James Smith hoping to continue in what is semi-decent form. The problem is his teammate Cassar, in the championship, 7 points in front of the championship in 4th place. Cassar is in 2nd place, so James Smith may have to just consolidate a 5th, maybe even a 6th place finish, because of course Denzel Agius is in 3rd. So yeah, over 40s number 1 Aston Martin will be a bit disappointed with the current situation, but with his general performances, pretty solid season.
Yeah, this has been a solid season out there for Sheldon Muscat, but not the type of contending one that he was hoping for. He is very much always in contention in some way, shape or form, but being in contention around every round and going out there and picking up the victory in every round is a different point entirely, and that's the difference I think this season for Sheldon Muscat, is that De Batista's stepped up to the plate and Adrian Manduka stepped up to the plate, and Sheldon Muscat I think has stayed at the same level as he has done 1 season ago. So it will be tough for him to know that he is going to be 3rd in the championship, but he knows it's a long way back. Give good credit, though, here to James Smith. 6th position, hasn't really had too much to argue with over the course of the day as we look back to Denzel Agius here, who I believe is still in 3rd and is so out there at this point, but certainly reeling that gap into the McLaren of Sean Cassar. McLaren versus McLaren, the only difference is going to be how those two teams have set that up.
They've got another yellow flag wave. That's for the number 112. That is the Ford Mustang of Adrian. That's the only other Ford Mustang to have ever competed in this championship as well, if I'm right in saying. It's been an absolutely fabulous season for the Mustang under Manduka, but not so great for Adrian in this race. He's had a couple of spins and he's 2 laps down. Denzel Agius just really starting to reel in Cassar now. This is where the battle is going to be fairly important, because of course he's got to consider his own championship with the likes of Cassar, but of course he has to also consider Manduka behind. If he can help in any way, shape or form after that collision earlier on, I think the McLaren will consider to do so.
Oh, not with that wiggle coming off there of Luffield Corner. That will certainly take all of that time gain that was going to be there in that sector and bring it away. Still 8.5 of a second here, but it's that agonising 1 second between them here. And for Aaron De Batista, he knows he's just dangling himself at a second because it's giving Sean Cassar. Now that is some off-roading there in front by Adrian, who's gone straight off the road there, going through Maggots and Beckett's and off and away again at Chapel, but that will now bring him right in front of the leaders. But this is the widest circuit that we've seen this season, so I doubt that we'll see traffic be a massive factor as they run down towards Stowe Corner once again with just under 7:45 out there in this one. It's a case that Denzel Agius is the driver who has to step up if he wants to get into 2nd place.
A second in around about half a lap from Manduka. Gap now about 4.7 to the likes of Agius as he now begins his push now for the final part of this race. Everyone now serving their pit stops, so that race in terms of all of the pit stop window is no longer going to be an issue, folks. And of course, if you are wondering how are people spinning out already in this part of the race, remember, take a look at the numbers of the drivers. White indicating they're a pro driver, grey indicating they're a pro-am, red indicating that they're an amateur, and that may be the reason why we're seeing Adrian just struggling a little bit out there at the moment, as we have another person pitting actually. Kozchek has come into the pit lane in the BMW for his 2nd pit stop of the race.
Yeah, that will probably be for damage for Konchek or not enough fuel in the car. So that will be an embarrassing little case of one more pit stop to be done. No one wants to pit twice in a one-stop race, but just looking at the car, it doesn't look like there's anything too untoward with it.
Fuel.
So I would suggest there on his Pirellis that fuel is not quite optimal out there at this point. Agius remaining close, that gap's still there closing down, but Manduka's going to need a miracle here. He's going to need a second a minute right now to try and close this gap down. And with 6 minutes 20 and they're doing 1:57s out there, I would put this at 5 laps to go.
Yes, this is the critical thing now, isn't it? Now, Manduka, if he can at least get close to the front four after what had happened earlier on, I think front three rather, I think he would be happy with that particular race performance. It's been a little bit of an aggressive mixed bag, hasn't it, for the man looking to fight for the championship. At the end of the day, he needed to do that. It's just unfortunate that the cards weren't laid out in his favour on this particular race. Just under 6 minutes to go here. De Battista, one hand and I think a pinky on the other now on the trophy.
Yep, make that 6 digits on the trophy then at this point for him, and every lap he'll add another one on top of it at this stage. But Denzel Agius, give him credit, is really trying to chase down. He's forcing these two drivers to drive pretty much at 100%, to be honest, to be aggressive with the way that it's gone. It's been a really solid drive from Denzel Agius, who's only got, in my view, better and better as this season's gone on.
Yeah, I mean, there will be some learnings that he has to take, and I think perhaps a lot of what we saw earlier on in the season was unfortunately reflected in that collision with Manduka earlier on, but Denzel Agius, nonetheless, a really good performance with 50 points overall going into this race, racing with the likes of Sean Cassar, 8 points in front of him. Not likely he's going to be overtaking Sean Cassar, but he will be overtaking James Smith in the title to finish at least in the top 5.
And Aaron De Battista now to 1.4 seconds. There is a risk here that Sean Cassar is going to drop the slipstream, and that will leave him vulnerable right now to Denzel Agius, who will want to try and go through and make that move and go into second place. So if Sean Cassar can't keep up with the Audi in front, then it will be Macca versus Macca in the final 5 minutes of this race. So chase on from car number 89. Denzel Agius is looking to really crank up that extra notch in the pressure cooker and leave himself into position. Now looking to get that drive through Cop's corner, and each and every corner, a 10th here, a 10th there. You whittle it away like an artisan.
Keeping a very firm eye then on Agius as he just continues on that little battle with the likes of Cassar, finding around about a couple of tenths on the last lap. Here is this lap coming to a conclusion, in about half a lap's time actually, because we're half away around this circuit. So this is where potentially Agius now actually starting to put the other McLaren under a little bit of pressure here, and I'm not expecting an overtake just yet, but Cassar will certainly be keeping an eye out on his rear view mirrors, because that car is getting mighty close now, and the two McLarens might be fighting out towards the end of this race, you know.
And they know how important this battle's going to be. There is the lap traffic of Chris Gack staying out of the way in 11th place, as Bart Schuss is now inside the top 10 on his charge through. But now Denzel Agius has got himself where he wants to be. He's been working for that gap. He's been working for that time. And any way he can go and make that move, he'll certainly take, trying to dance through the very, very quick right of Abbey. Now through Farm. Defensive line taken by Sean Cassar here at the village. And a big wide line taken here. This might open up the outside, but it's another case of wide line to open the exit up. Wow. Coming out of the loop and on through Aintree Corner and onto the Wellington Straight. Denzel Agius will have a run here. There's not much that Sean Cassar can do about this, because here comes a little think, but ultimately paralysis by analysis in play, and Denzel Agius can't make the lunge.
Yeah, classic little bit of mindset racing between the pair of them, getting in the rearview mirrors, reminding Cassar, any mistake and I'll happily have your position, sir, is what Agius is saying. Now, this is where the McLarens will probably be at their strongest now, going through Cops and then through into Maggots and Beckett's. This is where the changing position will allow for the car to be weighted in just the right way. The question is who has adapted the best in these conditions, as we've got another yellow flag being waved. It's just gone green again. I think we've had another spinner at the back. It's the number 112 of Adrian again in the other Ford Mustang, the unbranded one. Going through then Maggots into Beckett's. A little bit of a wider line actually from Agius. That's going to allow for a bit more speed going out of the corner, and this might be the pressure that he's looking for. Is it going to go for the move into Cops?
Well, he's got the run now towards Snow, and now for Denzel Agius, he is going to try and think about it. Didn't quite get enough pull, but understeer through the middle of the corner then is going to mean it's going to be tight on the exit. So Denzel Agius now thinks, is it outside or in? Is it worth it at this point? No, not through the veil, and in towards the right of Club Corner, which leads on by. They've left Batista to run away. Adrian Manduka's trying to get something back at 3.5 seconds away. Abdul Muez Sahel has a drive-through penalty for incident.
Oh, that's unfortunate as well for the leader in the rookie kind of titles at the moment between Sahel, because he's been absolutely great, to be honest with you, but he's going to be losing points if anything else is going to go by as a result of this one. Still battling happening. Is he going to go for the later? No, not on this occasion. His Agius has learned from his teammate earlier on as well. And cross one off your bingo card, by the way, Jake. Cops and Stowe also mixed up. That was the one of two things that I was worried. The other one being getting the start-finish line wrong. I've done both. Fantastic.
Well, we know that there's just one lap left of racing when they cross the line, and Denzel Agius is going to be searching and prodding and probing and hoping for every which way that it's a second place to put the end of this season into its perspective. When you've got the likes of Sean Cassar there trying to throw what he can at the books and hoping it sticks, it's going to be there, and hopefully a great battle to the end. This driver who leads right now, who has been championship leader ever since the championship opener and has been waiting about saying, I've got to be at my level best. 3 race wins this season, rounds 1, 3 and 4 in the back pocket, has been pushed to his absolute breaking point here today, but he is a diamond out there the way he's run. Timer expires on the session, so this will now confirm it as the final lap of this race. And when you've got Cassar and Agius behind, looking to battle it out for the final spots on the podium, this will be a lap of honour, it will feel, for Aaron De Batista. Do not step out of line. Make sure that you pass go and collect your 200 out there. But for him, he knows how crucial this run is. Agius still stuck behind then as they go through the Vale and into Club Corner. And now for De Batista, he passes what is the more commonly known straight now and pit lane around this Silverstone circuit, passing the big wing pit building that is there, and now through Abbey and Farm, and now moving into Village. Here, the right section of this track. Still the gap there between Cassar and Agius behind, and now through the loop. One final sector awaits for Aaron, as he knows that this has been about pace, which he has always been able to show, but hasn't been able to string in terms of a championship until this very moment. Running through at Brooklands Corner, now thinking about where one corner remains here with Luffield 2-5. Aaron De Batista, with his 4th win of the season, drives out of Luffield, will go through Woodcote, and is the MOZA Racing Malta GT Cup champion.
Couldn't have it any cleaner than that one. Exactly what De Batista needed. Fair play to Manduka, by the way. 1.4 seconds the gap in the end between him and the nearest rival in that one, which would have been Agius. So it's a real unfortunate set of events in the end for the likes of Manduka. But we've got to celebrate this man. What a season it has been for the number 26 Intercomp Audi. De Batista, champion of Britain. Fantastic.
Well, not only that, champion of Malta, as he has picked up the crown and has done so with some wonderful driving around those 5 British circuits we've had over the course of this season. James, it has to be said here that VMD Intercomp were up at the highest level, have proven what they've got, and of course, quite naturally, the donuts coming out in celebration, burn the tyres as much as you can, but he's done so with a fantastic team around him. The former champion, of course, Sheldon Muscat. When you've got that as a teammate, you've always got an opportunity to stand yourself on the pedestal.
Yeah, the bottom line is that they can work with each other because they know exactly what is the formula to end up winning titles, and they've done it again. Intercomp have been absolutely fabulous, to be fair, throughout this entire championship. Project Aversio, though, really threw everything at them in the end, especially Manduka in that race. And you know what? Fair play, did a really good job to bring the entertainment. I don't know whether the stewards are going to have anything to say about a couple of those incidents, but one thing's for certain, it's been fabulous from start to finish.
It has, and Adrian Manduka today had the pole position, was really looking to try and make it happen, but was put on the back foot from turn number 1 there by Aaron De Battista, and then from that point, he was having to scrap and find everything. The defensive prowess was certainly there. I tell you what, Manduka gave everything here today, and I don't think he can walk away too disappointed with how he's driven, because it was not his fault, the reason why he was turned around. And also he'll look around and say, you know what, James, he's actually driven a very, very good season were it not for the exceptional driving of De Battista.
That's the bottom line of it, isn't it? At the end of the day, there was one man that was just that little bit faster, but the bottom line is Adrian Manduka really, really put all of that energy into that Ford Mustang throughout the season. He's really piled on that pressure, and to be fair, his racecraft is absolutely fabulous. It's this race he needed to be more aggressive. That's fair. We were expecting that one, but throughout the rest of the season, he's been absolutely fabulous to watch. He's a champion in the making. He will have a championship later down the line, I've no doubt. It's just a case of, is Aaron De Battista going to be there with him and try and stop him again?
Well, that's the question that will be found out next year when the championship comes back into play. Your MOZA Racing Malta GT Cup is powered by Intercomp and is in collaboration with GamingMalta, along with Hyundai, Intercomp, Sunshine Snacks, Level Academy, JACAP, and GX Trust. This has been a Velocity Esports Racing production from James Otter and myself, Jake Sperry. It is one where you sit down and you say potential reached. At long, long last, potential has been reached. There is no doubt that pace was always there from Aaron De Battista. It's a question of, can you string a championship together and find the consistency that the pace is there to offer? Finally, he can realise that, and once the monkey's off the back and you've got one championship down, it's a case of how do you defend heading to next year. Aaron De Battista, your champion, and the next season will await those who dare to take his crown.